Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let us start inshallah with Surah Al-baqarah. And Baqarah means cow, and we'll see that in this surah we'll encounter the story of Al-Baqarah, and at that time we'll discuss more about the significance of the naming of this surah as Baqarah. In terms of the excellence of this surah, there are many hadith about the excellence of this surah and the virtue of this surah, and how on Yawm al-Qiyamah it will come and protect the person, and in dunya it will be a protection from any kind of evil, black magic and sihr and stuff like that. So this surah is full of wisdom, full of hikmah, full of legislations, as we'll come and encounter the various ayat of this surah. This surah is started with Alif Lam Mim. So there is a very elongation, mad lazim. You have to make it around sitta harakat, right? Alif Lam. And then between Lam and Mim, there is a gunna of 2 harakat. Lam Mim. So this is a tajweed tip that I will remind you about. And these are initials. Alif is an initial, Lam is an initial letters. And you will find it in many places at the start of the beginning of the surah. Alif Lam Mim, Alif Lam Ra, Sad, Noon. And very often it follows by describing the Quran, like in our case, Dhalik al-Kitab, it alluding to the Quran and how it is a miraculous book and it has a guidance. So similarly in other locations, whenever there is this start of these initials, usually it's an allusion or alluding to the excellence of the Quran. And by this, as if Allah is telling the Arabs, and the Quran came as a challenge to the Arabs who themselves were claiming to be the masters of Arabic language at this time, and Quran came with the Arabic language. So Quran is telling them, oh, you who are claiming to be the masters and challenging this Quran, you give your narrations, your poems, your prose, your masterpieces using Alif, Lam, Mim, Kaf, Ha. These are alphabets. You are using the alphabets of the language to construct your poems and your prose and narratives that you claim are the highest of the quality. Me, Allah, is doing the same. I'm not coming with a different linguistic system. I am also using the linguistic tool as you use, which are the building blocks, Alif, Lam, Mim. But look, my production and look to your production and see the difference. So these are very powerful signals to the Arabs and to the mankind that the Quran, and that's why it followed by Dhalik al-Kitab. And Kitab is a place where you bring in alphabets into one place, Jama. Kitab means to collection. It's a collection of alphabets into words, and words into sentences, and sentences into narratives with a coherent concept. And this is the beautiful Quran, Dhalik al-Kitab. And that's why it went to the next ayah. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. ذَلِكَ means this Quran. And it refers sometimes to something that is very noble, something very high. You cannot reach it because it's so noble. You say dhalika, you boast and say, look at this book. So Allah is drawing our attention, telling that look at this magnificent book, dhalika al-Kitab. And Kitab, as I said, means that something which are collected, dhalika al-Kitab. This is the book which is the Quran. And Allah is saying about this book that there is no doubt. No author today in the introduction can boast and say that I am writing a book and I challenge you all. There will be no mistakes in this book. Rather, it's a style of our worldly authors that they say that I have tried my best to research the topic, and please forgive me if there is a mistakes. Here is my email, send me the mistakes and we'll correct it in the next editions. Quran is opposed to it because Allah is the omnipotent, omniscient. He knows everything, and Allah at the very front of this book says that there is no doubt. There is no doubt in this Quran. Every word of this Quran, there is no doubt. Every sentence, there is no doubt. La rayba fi. And it is an information or informative statement, la rayba fi, embedded with a command. So you don't cast any doubt in this Quran. So this is an imperative statement disguised in an informative statement, that there is no doubt, so don't feel doubt about it. This is a command to us, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, in it. And its character is hudan lil muttaqeen. This Quran is a hidayah. Hudan means manifestation, means declaration, means bayan, means direction of the road, means erasing the fog, erasing the confusions. Hudan. And specifically, it is hudan for lil muttaqeen, for the believers, for those who are mindful of Allah, who are conscious of Allah, who are fearing of Allah, who fears Allah. And ittiqa, or literally this word muttaqeen, which has the concept of ittiqa, means differentiation between two things. Okay, differentiation between two things. So you are as a human soul, and there is an enemy, and the enemy throws an arrow, and you have a shield. This shield is muttaqeen, because it's protecting you from that arrow that the enemy has thrown to you. So this is from the literally sense of this word of muttaqeen. So what does it mean? It means that muttaqeen is the person who, by avoiding shirk, by avoiding associating deities with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or committing sins, by these things he is creating a shield between him and the hellfire, between him and the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hudan lil muttaqeen. So a person can never be muttaqeen unless he avoids the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislike, all kind of sins, and the major sin among them is the shirk. The gravest sin is the shirk. That's why muttaqeen are those who avoid shirk, as well as other avoidance. That means they fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why you'll find in translation saying that being mindful of Allah, conscious of Allah, hudan lil muttaqeen. And then the next verse, Allah goes on to describe who are the muttaqeen. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. رزقناهم. On this qaf there is a jazm or sukun, and whenever there are 5 alphabets that has sukun on top of it, we call it qalqala. So you don't say razaqnahum, razaqo. Okay, you make this qalqala. Razaqnahum. And these 5 are qutubujat, qaf, ta, ba, jim, dal. Whenever we encounter those, inshallah, I'm gonna remind you about it. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُم. The second thing I want to say here is the ikhfa in yunfiqun. Whereas there's a nun sakina, which is nun yunfiqun, and followed by number of letters, among them is fa. We'll call it ikhfa. Okay, we hide this nun. We don't say yunfiqun, no, yunfiqun, and we elongate this because it has a gunna. Yunfiqun. What does it mean? Muttaqin, that was described in the previous verse, are those who yu'minuna bil ghaib. They believe in the ghaib, and ghaib means something you don't see, the unseen, and the greatest unseen is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muttaqeen are those who are conscious of Allah, who is unseen. We don't see him physically, although we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, and we respect him and we fear him. So, and among the unseen are what will happen on the day of judgment in Jannah, Jahannam, Yawm al-Akhir, the stuff of Yawm al-Akhir. Okay? And that's why it says وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ in the next verse. So they believe in the ghaib, which is anything that you don't see it, and that includes ancient information what happened to Nuh alayhi salam. We came to know about it from the Quran, the very details of what happened to Nuh alayhi salam, what happened to Adam alayhi salam. All those stories we hear in the Quran are things that are unseen to us, whether in the past or in future. Okay? And we are unable to empirically test it. And hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directing us to metaphysical stuff, which the contemporary world that is governed by atheism, by materialism, they don't believe anything that you cannot empirically test in the labs. Quran comes at the beginning and tells us that no, our mind cannot comprehend everything. We are weak, and there are things that is beyond our vision. We cannot see it. When we use microscope, we can see a bit more. When we use telescope, we can see something that is distant. It was unseen, but because of the aid of some instruments, we could see it. Similarly, there are things, even with instruments, we cannot see it. So the things that we were not able to see it in the past, but now we are able to see it, this should give us a hint that indeed there are many things that is unknown to us, and that would lead us as a human being to be little bit humiliated in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this should lead us to know that we can see the manifestations of Allah's power in this universe that alludes to us that there is Allah behind that. Thousands of evidence we encounter on a daily basis that tells us that there is something beyond our comprehension as a human being, because all our senses has limitations. All our senses has limitations. So this humiliation, this weakness, instead of what the contemporary science at one stage after the Enlightenment, it would have wanted us to tell us that you, human being, you revolt against Allah. And it went into the epic perhaps at the time of Nietzsche, when he said that a God is dead. And now it is the triumph of the human being and the superhuman, which he called Uberman, for example, the concept of Superman. There is no Superman in front of the supreme power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what this ayah tells us. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. They have a belief, a faith in what is unseen. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. The second thing, وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. And this salah in literally terms means dua, means supplication, because it's one of the essential part of the prayer is the dua and the supplication. That's why the most important part of salah is Surah Al-Fatiha, and we end Surah Al-Fatiha with Ameen. You just listen to the tafsir of Surah Fatiha that I have made in a previous video. We end it with Ameen, so it's a supplication. So Salah is a supplication, and supplication also is an indication of weakness, because somebody who is a beggar, he supplicates to somebody who is stronger, rich, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Salah has this essence, and hence Allah started to mention it here. After belief in the ghaib, unseen, Allah is directing us that how would you manifest your belief? Because when a person has a firm belief in his mind and heart, he wants to exercise that love through some action. He wants to relieve. It's like a huge thing happening, like a volcano, and he wants to vent it out. And the best way a believer person can vent out his love and revelation and humiliation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through engaging this salah. And this salah needs to be yuqimun. You don't just pray it once and I'm done. I pray Jum'ah and that is done, or I pray occasionally Eid and that is done. No, you have to yuqimun. You have to erect it. You have to continue doing it all the time. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us obligatory on us to have this salah, this prayer 5 times a day in the masjid for the male. So yuqimun as-salah, they continue doing this salah. and including the salah is also in its time, don't delay it. And including yuqimuna salah is to perfect the things that leads to the salah. You make the wudu in a perfect way. You wear very nice dresses when you go to encounter with Allah, because it's a meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all this preparation around it and perfection within it, this all constitutes, and doing it on regular basis constitute the word yuqimun, erecting as-salah. And then this verse ends, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And from whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, provided us, razaqa. And razaqa is the provision that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. Our property, our children, our cattle, our bank balance, our car, these are all the rizq and provision. And Allah says, razaqnahum, I have given it. So let's attribute these things to Allah. Although we earned it, but who is behind that even? When I say I earned this money because I went to college 5 years and then I had master's, PhD, I have experience. Yeah, but who is behind those things? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's not forget the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the invisible hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all the money that we get. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ. So this is number one. يُنْفِقُونَ. So let us share a portion of what Allah gave us to help others. And that is the word yunfiqun. And nafaqa means whenever any property that something goes out of your hand is nafaqa. That's why when an animal dies and he was left alone he became like dead corpse, we say it's nafaqat dabba, means that its soul, its life has left it. And that's why nafaqat al-mal means that when this money leaves our hand, it is no more ours. We cannot claim it anymore. That's the yunfiqun. So we human beings constitute of two things, our physical body and our property. And prayer is the best way we vent out this worship and love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this prayer, yuqimun as-salah. And then what remains is the money part. And the money part also, we show our worship in the money through giving it as a charity to the others. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. In verse number 4, Allah says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِن قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. بِمَا أُنزِلَ. After mim, there is hamza, and that constitutes mad. Mad means elongation. And this elongation, when bima is one word and unzila is another word. So when there is a mad and transition and elongation between two different words, you have an option. You can say it, elongate it, or you don't elongate it. You say وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ, as I have recited. Or you can elongate it, say بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ. Okay. The second thing in unzila, after nun sakina, unzila, there is za, and za is one of those letters of ikhfa, unzila. In qablika, again, ba has a sukun, and ba is one of the 5 letters, qutubu jad. So you say qablika. What does it mean? And those, Allah continues the description of the muttaqeen. Muttaqeen are those yu'minun. They have this faith, firm faith, bima unzila ilayka, on things that were revealed to you. And by you means Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So means they believe in the Quran. The muttaqeen, they have a firm belief in Quran. And not only in the Quran, وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِن قَبْلِكَ, and those who have been revealed to prophets before you, like the Torah on Musa alayhi salam, or the Gospel or Injil on Isa alayhi salam. So mu'minun Muttaqin, they are not like the Jews who believed in Torah and they didn't believe in gospel of Jesus or Quran of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mu'minun are not like Christians who believed in Torah and the gospel on Musa and Isa and they rejected Prophet Muhammad. Mu'minun, they believe in Muhammad and the previous books as well in the form that was intact. But unfortunately, and we will read it in this surah, that in later generations after Musa alayhi salam or after Isa alayhi salam, the people, they corrupted this book. But in the intact form, the believers, they believe that it was revealed to those prophets as the Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. الذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك. And then وبالآخرة هم يوقنون. On the akhirah, on what is awaiting for us on the hereafter, the believers have yaqeen on them. And yaqeen means it's a faith that came after a research and it stabilized and became firmly attached to the heart. So it's iman plus. بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. On the day of judgment and the hereafter and the Jannah and the Jahannam, they don't only have a faith, they have a firm faith. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. A certainty, a faith in the hereafter, a sure faith, a certainty. Okay? وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. Then in verse 5, Allah concludes this part by saying, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Here the أُولَٰئِكَ, you don't have choice, you have to elongate it because it's in the same word. أُولَٰئِكَ, around 4 seconds. مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ هُدًى مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ. Here, after tanween, which is 2 fatha, hudan, we have min. So when there is after tanween there is mim, we call it what? Idgham. And idgham means you hudan ends with noon, hudan. You erase this noon and join it with the mim, hudam, you see, and then you elongate it with a gunna, hudam mir rabbihim. Same thing happens, mir rabbihim. Noon sakina followed by ra. And whenever there is a noon sakina min rabbihim, ra, then this we call idgham, but without gunna. You don't say mir rabbihim, no, mir rabbihim. But again you erase the noon and join it with ra, mir rabbihim. Wa ulaika humul muflihun. Those who are described from verse number 2, I will remind you again. Muttaqin are those who believe in the unseen, they erect the prayer, they give the charity, they believe in the Quran, they believe in Torah, they believe in Injil, they believe on the previous books that were revealed on the prophets, and they have a firm belief on Akhirah. These people are what? They are ala hudan, they are on the guidance from their Lord. So if we want to be guided, if we want to not be lost in this complexity of this world, we want our life to have a peace of mind, a structuredness, a journey that is following a Google map. Okay, every direction, Quran is like the Google Maps, tells you after 300 meters go right, then left, then this and that. Okay, this is the hudan min rabbihim. They are on this right mustaqim, Sarat al-Mustaqim that we have already described in Surah Al-Fatiha. Okay. They are on this right path. And this path, did they earn it? No, again it's min rabbihim, from their Lord. So every second Quran is reminding us that let's not feel boast and arrogant and feel that we have earned it. Let's not forget the invisible hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all the bounties and favors that we get. Ulaika ala hudan min rabbihim. They are on the guided path, on the right path, and this came from their Lord. This came from their Lord, min rabbihim. So this is the beauty of those who believe in the Quran, the muttaqeen, that in any complex situation, those who are not muttaqeen, those who are atheists, those who follow the European Enlightenment, those who follow this, that, okay, they encounter complex situations and they take a guess. Okay, I don't know what to do. With 50% probability, we'll do this. Muttaqeen will not do that. They have a clear roadmap. Ala hudam min rabbihim. And wa ulaika humul muflihun. You see, there is a style of exclusiveness in the linguistic way, had you said. These are the only one. Means that anybody who is doing a PhD from Harvard in the absence of guidance from the Quran, you and me, we would think that, yeah, these are the think tanks. But exclusiveness, humul muflihun, they are not the successful. Successful are those who are only following those 6 characters that we have described in these verses. Muflihun means what? Who have reached falah, who have reached their destination, who are successful. In English, most of the translators, they have said they are successful. So this is the definition of successful. And see how this definition is far from how we, influenced by the Western concept of success. Our success means I have attained certain degree, I have maintained certain kind of bank balance, I have followed the capitalism system, this is the success. But here is the real success. May Allah guide us.